Our presentation is about one of the most contradictory and tragic periods of Kazakhstan's history, the industrialization of the 1930s. In 1928-1930, Kazakhstan has moved from nomadic cattle breeding to a Soviet-planned industrial economy. This modernization was accompanied by a demographic catastrophe, famine of 1930-1933. Historical significance. The decisions of the 1930s created a structural dependency that defined Kazakhstan's economy both during the Soviet period and after independence. The main thesis is that the industrialization created an industrial infrastructure, but it also integrated the country into the colonial economic system, creating barriers to its independent development.
Industrialization created real industrial infrastructure. During the 1930s, Kazakhstan underwent large-scale industrial development with the creation of transport infrastructure, mining and processing enterprises that, in the short term, produced genuine economic transformation. Kazakhstan's railway network increased by approximately 50%. The greatest project of this period, Turksib, Turkestan-Siberian Railway, completed in 1930, connected Central Asia with Siberia and opened new trade routes. According to industrial development document from the official Kazakhstani historical portal, confirms Turksib construction as a symbol of modernization of the steppe region. Karsakhpay copper smelting plant began operation in late 1928. By 1932, the Rudny Altai region became the Soviet Union's leading producer of gold, lead, zinc, and rare metals including arsenic, cadmium, and tungsten. Mining volumes increased significantly each year.
Industrialization was embedded in the colonial model of raw material dependence. Fact 1. Specialization in raw material industries. Analysis of industrial structure shows each year management of more or less large enterprises of Kazakhstan, particularly extractive industries, whose production was exported to industrially developed regions of the USSR, increased. Fact 2. System of inter-republic independence. Research on Kazakhstan's transition period shows the economy was characterized by a high degree of economic specialization in raw material extraction, heavy industry, and agriculture. Fact 3. Export of raw materials without processing. Kazakhstan was a supplier of raw materials and specific components of industrial products. Raw materials from Kazakhstan were used as part of finished goods somewhere in Russia or Ukraine. Importantly, processing and value-added production occurred in other republics. Fact for structuring of monocities. During the 1930s, so-called monocities, settlements built around a single enterprise of industry were created. Examples include Jezkazgan, copper, Karaganda, coal, and Rudny, iron. These cities were not designed for local economic development, but exclusively to supply raw materials to Soviet industrial centers.
More than 20% of Kazakhstan's population, approximately on the million people, were forced to leave the republic, cross-border into China, Mongolia, Afghanistan, Iran, and neutral Soviet republics. Only because this expansion was the demographic situation not even more catastrophic. Industrialization of the 1930s cannot be widely supported the colonization tragedy. Famine and the problems that defined conservative of policies that support everything, including human lives in the traditional Kazakh society. The goals of Soviet industries that meant not development of Kazakh economic in interest of Kazakhstan people, but violent interference in interest of the Union.
The analysis of Kazakhstan's industrialization in the 1930s should be considered from the two sides. On the one hand, there were industrial transformation, including the construction of railways, the establishment of mining enterprises, and development of infrastructure. Kazakhstan came to be an agrarian region and become a supplier of strategic resources.
The industrialization was embedded in colonial model of Soviet economy that prioritized raw material exports. Kazakhstan did not develop its own integrated economy with complete production cycle, from extraction to finished product creation. Instead, The status of raw material appendage supplying processes to Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus became entrenched. This structural choice had long-term consequences.
Moreover, industrialization was interactive, like it was one of the greatest demographic catastrophes of the 20th century. The famine of 1930-1933 that claimed 1.5 million lives that demonstrated that industrialization was not development of Kazakhstan economy in the interest of Kazakh peoples, but culture of Kazakhs to go of the Soviet system, the start of livestock herding, main causes of alternative development paths.
Rather than overcoming structural raw material dependence, independent Kazakhstan doubled down on natural resources, especially oil and gas. This represents long-term consequences of the 1930 decisions. Today, Kazakhstan economy remains vulnerable to raw material price fluctuation and diversification attempts face structural barriers created over 80 years ago.